One of the great things about the GR and the TCG was that while we had new boss units and like really fantastic and attractive and like iconic boss units introduced in the G series, we also had this thing where, because of how generic strides were and how they supported the clans, a lot of old decks came back as well. So we saw stuff like Sanctuary Guard come back from just like one wave of support, Tsukuyomi came back from having just one stride, and also just some random decks that had a good Vanguard effect could just kind of exist because they powered up entire decks. And today we're going to be introducing a deck that more or less stands by that logic of being a card that has a good Vanguard effect that benefits a lot from strides. So welcome guys, today we're doing an OTT deck and fight, and now this won't be a Susanoo deck and fight. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure if I'll even do a Susanoo deck and fight because I only have 2 of the Takemika's G, but this deck does have Susanoo in it, so you can consider it a Susanoo deck and fight. But I think this deck is probably more competitive than what current Susanoo could be right now. Not to say that it's high tier, but at the very least, it's kind of viable against the current meta. And what am I talking about? Well, of course, I'm talking about the one and only Imperial Daughter. I name dropped this one like a few videos ago, I think, when I was talking about some random stuff. And yeah, we live in a society where Imperial Daughter is somehow the best OTT deck, I think, in Zero right now. It's, you know, it's a questionable opinion. Some people would say Battle Sisters are better still, or just regular Tsukuyomi, especially if we can get the Tsukuyomi stride soon. That'll definitely change a lot of things. But for today, we're going to introduce Imperial Daughter, which is somehow back in the G era. So let me tell you more about this deck. So this is a deck that I saw quite a few Japanese players messing about, especially like Japanese streamers were kind of playing around with it and like, you know, just like experimenting with it. And then some of our English players were also starting to mess around with it. And so I was like, you know what, let's also try it out. And I was like, it's kind of fun actually. And also just a big pain for Aquaforce to deal with. So it was actually a pretty good time playing this. So why does this deck work? Imperial Daughter, if you don't remember, is a pretty old card that has Restraint on Vanguard and Rearguard Circle, but you can release Restraint by counterblasting 1 and putting a Rearguard into your soul. But it has another skill which says, if you don't have any Rearguards, this gets plus 10k plus 1 crit. And so essentially, if you only call 2 intercepts, or if you call grade 1s that bounce themselves to hand afterwards, you can essentially have a 21k power Vanguard on your opponent's turn, because that third skill is not just during your own turn, which is pretty damn sick. So of course, we don't need draw power in this deck because it kind of, you know, all you need is to draw into your grade 2s to have intercept and that's it. And we don't really need grade 3s, but we run the 2s Susanoo because of course the Stride Water can search it. It's better to still ride it than to be grade stuck. And he's still a nice card. GB2, if you have 2 or more cards in hand, he gets 5k in a crit. And when you stride over him, you counterblast 1. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one of them into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of the deck. So he lets you still plus and like find your pieces here and there, pieces being PGs and stride fodders, I guess. So he's not bad to run as like a 2 of. We run the stand trigger, which is the no-no, which is a GB1 at the end of the battle that she boosted. Soul Blast 1, draw 1, and put her back to the deck. So this means that it's a booster that clears itself from board and draws you a card, which means that you're still left with just intercepts at the end of that battle. And then, of course, heal Guardians because they are very good. 10k vanillas times 8, and of course, if we need to run 10k vanillas, I make use of the fact that we have these HoloLive collab 10k vanillas. So of course it's nice to be able to have that, but you can run any OTT 10k vanilla you want. You know, I think there's more than 2 different types in OTT alone, so you can definitely mess around with that. Then 11k attackers, which is the Mocha. During your turn, if you have 3 or more cards in hand, it gets 3k power, so you can attack without being boosted. And the 1 Silent Tom, because we can win games off of that. And you actually do win it with it pretty well because you draw through a lot of your deck in this deck because of how it kind of works. And so we run 3 Dark Cats, which is on place, Vanguard Rearguard Circle, all players draw 1. So it's actually not bad because sometimes you can like call this in the front row to just like fish for intercepts and then overcall it while making your opponent deck out, because this deck can play into the long game pretty well. Of course, 4 stride fodders because we are striding most of the time, all the time actually, and then 4 countercharging PGs in order to have counterblast for stuff. And then 2 of this grade 1, which is the Able Kneel. He says GB1 at the end of your turn. If this unit is resting, Soul Blast 1, bounce it back to your hand. So this lets you still clear the back row without having to, you know, so you can actually have Imperial Daughter skill after your opponent takes out your intercepts, which is very nice. You can also run, there's like the bird that on hit Vanguard bounces back to hand, I believe, so this doesn't need to hit, which is why I decided to run it, but the soul cost can be a little bit difficult, especially if you soul blast a lot for this stand trigger, so do keep that in mind. If you're going first, you usually go into the Imperial Daughter and like get an extra soul by like putting a Dark Cat into the soul for the restraint cost, so you can also make use of that. Now for strides, as you can see, I only made 2 of the Takemikazuchis because I didn't want to spend money on this event, so we're playing just 2 at most. This will be replaced the moment we get another OTT stride, but the main stride you go into is Kirin. Kirin is when it hits the Vanguard, you look at the top 2 cards of your deck, add 1 to hand, put the rest in the bottom, and then we run the Takemikazuchi, which is what we go into when our opponent's at 5, which is a GB2 once per turn, counterblast 2 G Persona Blast, and then look at the top 4 cards of your deck, add 2 of them to your hand, put the rest to the bottom of your deck. So you can find intercepts with this, or you can find the stand trigger if you need it, and things like that. So it's pretty decent. And then for starter, you can either run the grade 3 searcher to make sure you have the Imperial Daughter, or you can run the Lozenge Magus. I kind of like having a 5th heal trigger. I always feel like that's quite good, and instead I'd prefer to just like aggressively mulligan for the Imperial Daughter, but I can see why. If you want that extra stability, you can run the grade 3 searcher, perfectly fine. And also like the grade 1 space, like some people don't run Dark Cat at all, some people don't run this guy, they run the old on bounce, like on hit bounce guy, because you don't have to soul blast for it, so you can experiment with that as you want. I think it's just the grade 2s that are kind of set in stone. Like some people play the GB1 10k, like 12k attacker instead, but he has to attack Vanguard, so if your opponent puts up like tanky intercepts, you're gonna have trouble with that, so keep that in mind. So yeah, let's give this deck a spin. 9 stands, because that's one of our win cons basically, is, you know, restanding stuff like the Mocha, which is pretty cool. So yeah, let's give it a spin and see how the deck performs. Alright, let's see, we're gonna be playing against DP. Alright, that's a not very like meta matchup, but it's gonna be interesting to see. I wonder when DP is gonna get their G support, to be honest, because DP G support came out before set 2 in the TCG, so I'm surprised that we don't have anything yet. So here we want to mulligan everything except for like a grade 1 to ride in a 10k vanilla, because riding the 10k vanilla is always the best. So we're gonna just basically, like, you want to ride Dark Cat as well, like just to kind of like draw into your Imperial Daughter as fast as possible. And so it'll be interesting to see how this game goes. And he's playing Goyusha too, so we're just gonna be a grade 3 very quickly. And it's interesting to see how... Alright, I learned from the comments, you guys told me something pretty interesting. You guys told me an interesting factoid that apparently your clan level determines your opponents. So if you have like a really low clan level, you will get matched with people of the similar like low clan level. But I'm pretty sure my OTT clan level is actually pretty high, because from what I remember, I, you know, basically just played this deck a lot when Tsukiyomi first came out. So that's why I think my level is pretty high. So I guess we'll find out soon though. But as you can see, early hand is pretty good. We don't play draws in this deck, so we don't have to be afraid of like overdrawing here. You know, it's an 8 card hand that's going to go up to 9, but it's not really something to be scared about. And then here, our opponent is going to basically just turbo into a grade 3. I could have kept the Lozenge for another turn actually, technically, because knowing that there's going to be an 11k base I'm going to be forcing, you know, facing off against. But he goes into the Dayusha, which will be just a 10k base, so I can actually just ride 10k vanilla and kind of chill against it. So he rode it over the 10k vanilla himself. Oh wow, he's turboing. My man is turboing. If he... I think he has... Yep, he has this to power up and that's it. That's not enough actually. Okay, he goes for Die Brave. Huh, so just 2 crit, no power up. Interesting. Okay. I mean, that gets him a card draw at least, and I go to 2 damage, so that's not too bad. He's gonna burn one of my stands, hopefully not 2 though. We do want some stands to stay in the deck. We don't play any Legions, so there's no way to like recycle them or anything. Alright, I'm loved by Sakura Miko apparently. I haven't seen this animation in a very long time because I normally play with the animations off. So here we can think about our future turns, right? Next turn we need 2 grade 2s to like hold it off, so we can potentially commit some pieces, and we can actually commit the grade 1 this turn too, to like boost over here, because next turn, like, we don't need to bounce it yet, right? We're gonna need that bounce skill for next turn. We get a stand. Would it be nice to keep that? Like, this is still the right attack order, because if you hit a defensive, like, you know, this wouldn't have been a third attack anyway, because we don't have another booster to commit here. So it's actually pretty fine how we maneuver this, I would say. And we also don't give him a break, so we can't just like ride into Great Dayusha yet and, you know, turbo his way through. But yeah, still pretty interesting how I'm still running into these like G-zone-less opponents, even with a clan that has a pretty high clan level from what I remember. So it's interesting. It's interesting. All right, he's gonna power up to the 15k. Okay, so this is now putting him to another bonus crit. So he's trying to push me to 5 this turn, which is definitely commendable, but 2-card hand is kind of yikes, because I can just take out his rears, and from next turn onwards, he's gonna have to really work towards having a high power total. He does run Heal Guardian, so maybe he just doesn't want to run Strides because he'd rather like power up his Goyudayusha instead of Striding, but I still feel like Strides are a good way to like build up a hand. I also love Toya's Scream when you get hit by damage. When he gets hit by damage, it's like super loud. Also, apologies, I think the game audio might have been very loud until this point. I think I turned it up last time around that I was recording, and I didn't turn it down ever since. Alright, so we're lacking a Stride Fodder, which is kind of unfortunate. So we're going to have to discard one of our Grade 2s. I was hoping to top deck one by this point, but unfortunately we did not. So at this point, what we have to hope for is to basically top deck into another attacker. So we're going to go into the Kidding. So that'll be quite good. If we can draw something off of Striding here, that'd be super sick. Tom is a card. Tom is a card. Do I really want to commit Tom now, though? Do I really want to commit Tom now, though? Actually, I think I made awkward columns, too. Yeah, these numbers are very awkward, unfortunately. Yeah. I think I'm going to have to hold off on using the stand trigger for the time being. But I will commit the Tom here. Yeah, I made awkward columns. I should have, like, made a stand Tom column, and then made a Miko plus grade 1 column, but it's quite fine. We're still gonna be able to get an extra draw from this turn. We get a stand trigger. It's not a great stand trigger. If we get a second one, then we're gonna be fine. Oh, we do get another trigger, so we can stand this, of course, but give power to the Miko. If he doesn't hit a defensive, then we can power through. Nice, we do get to 5 damage, so that's quite nice. Add the 10k vanilla to our hand for next turn, put the heal to the bottom of the deck, but luckily... actually, we don't have much that will shuffle it for the time being, but it is okay. We're going to use the grade 1 here on the GB1 skill, so Soul Blasting out the 10k vanilla to add it back to the hand. So with that, we now have 2 intercepts. This is the whole point of the deck, is you pass on a 2 intercept board. Alright, so he's gonna cross ride. Quite interesting. So he basically needs to clear out both of my intercepts, and he has 2 things to clear that out with. But when he attacks with his Great Dayusha, he'll be attacking a 21k Vanguard with his 15k base, because he didn't use any of his power-ups. I don't know if he has any power-ups in Soul, actually. No, he does not. He does not. Okay, he needs a second trigger to be able to hit. Luckily, I have a PG in hand to prevent that. He will hit it, and he's going to double heal as well, which is pretty damn good on my opponent's side. Next turn for me is a bit yikes, because I somehow still haven't found a Stride Fodder, so hopefully we can top deck into one. We don't... And now it's the question is, like, do I want to burn this Take, like, 2 cards to go into Takemikazuchi to find other cards? Yes and no is kind of my position here, because obviously, Kirin is pretty good for the time being. I could also just stay on the Imperial Daughter and just like build up Soul by releasing Restraint, which I might just do here, to be honest. I think what we'll do is we won't Stride, and we'll do this. Call these 2, and then just release Restraint by putting the grade 1 into the Soul. So we're giving up the booster here, but we get Soul to use a stand trigger later on. Don't need to use it for now, though. And I think what I'll do here is swing rear into, like, Van into rear, and then put the stand back. Because we do have to hit the 13, and which, like, this power-up doesn't happen until our opponent's turn now. Well, we're gonna put the stand here and then pray for it next turn, not really queuing it for this turn. But hold on. We don't have enough hands, so we're gonna have to... It's a really weird attack order, where this needs me to be at 3-hand. So what we do here is swing with this first... Swing with this first, then swing with this. The stand trigger will give us a card in hand, except that will still not be enough, because it'll give us a card in hand, but we still don't go to 3 cards in hand, because we only draw 1. So we're gonna just pass on that. But now my opponent's out of juice. This is my way of talking out of a misplay, by the way. This is me trying, like, coming to realizations, coming to terms with the fact that I just misplayed, and trying to dance around it. But that was definitely a misplay, but I should have made the column a bit differently. And I guess it's just the cross-ride number that was giving me a tough time. And now, we're in a unique situation where we top deck a Stride Fodder. That's pretty hot. I was gonna make a completely different point there, but we top deck a Stride Fodder, and that will hopefully draw us a grade 2. Because we can't actually commit the Dark Cat to the board. Oh my god, it doesn't... Then we just have to swing and pass. We swing and pass and let our opponent do stuff, because if we commit the Dark Cat and don't draw into an intercept, we don't want it. And we also give our opponent juice too. So we're going to just swing with the Kirin here. Nothing on the board. Just swing and see what we get out of it. Get a stand trigger. We don't really care for the time being. We're going to see what the Kirin draws us. Draws the Strife Fighter for next turn. So next turn we can go into Takemikazuchi. And then we pass on a 21k Vanguard, which is again, it's like the battle of the tanky bodies, right? So my opponent does not run any boosters, technically. I don't know, I guess with this he can reach the Vanguard power. So with this he reaches. No, he does with the Limit Break, yeah. He does with the Limit Break. And then if he can like super sack 2 triggers onto the grade 1, he actually manages to hit. He somehow does it. The legend himself. Alright. So he can actually push a 5th damage to me. The Heal Guard will take care of that one though. So this will push me to 5. Respect to my opponent for being able to do this. And then here, we keep drawing into Heal Guardians, but it's not a bad thing. So we're gonna go into the Takemikazuchi now. And find ourselves 2 cards, which will hopefully be grade 2s. It's the whole point of the deck. The Dark Cat is doing absolutely nothing right now. We find a PG, which is pretty damn good. Let's use Takemikazuchi here to count us 2 in G Persona to look at the top 4. Alright. We get a booster technically, which isn't bad. It's not perfect though. And we're always striving for perfection. What we can do is like do this, but then we can do this actually. Like put the stand back after the attack. Just make a column and just swing with the Takemikazuchi here. So this way, this is swinging for 15, and then the Takemikazuchi gets over the defensive, so we're just going to do that. And if we sack a stand off of this, then that's great. My man hits another draw, he's going to deck out at this point. Again, as I said earlier, this deck does go the long mile, you know? And then he does run Heal Guardians, but I think he's checked every single heal he has, so that's not really going to be much of a factor. If we sack triple trigger here, we do actually manage to hit the Vanguard, which would be pretty exciting, and it's going to happen. That's pretty crazy. So he's going to PG this attack. We haven't seen his PGs to be fair. And then this triple trigger, grade 2, is going to ask for another PG. So now we pass on a 5-card deck and a 4-card deck. My opponent goes down to 3. If he checks another draw trigger, which he might still have in deck, luckily, like, I'm out of triggers, right? I have, like, nothing left. So for me, that's not as scary. But... oh, did he just sack the Die Dragon off of that Dayusha? That's sick. That's pretty strong. That's pretty strong. Alright, what's left in his hand? Does he want to go for game here? He also knows that my Vanguard's going to go up to 21k the moment that he passes, so that's a factor. He's going to just choose not to do anything else. He's going to attack with the Vanguard, so if he checks his draw in the wrong timing, he will just lose. So let's see it. No? Is that a draw in hand then? I guess the draw might be in hand. Alright. So he lives to see another day, but my hand is Dark Cats. My hand is literally just Dark Cat Festival over here. And the rest of my deck is a grade 2 and 2 Stride Fodders. The chances of me drawing that grade 2 are pretty high because I think I've been putting stuff under the deck. But I also shuffled last turn, so this is pretty awkward. I don't want to like... oh, but I could just deck him out. We could just deck him out. So what we do is we go Dark Cat, Dark Cat, and then just pass. That's game. That's a weird way to end it, but that's a way to win the game for sure. Glad I saw that lethal. So yeah, that is a that was a weird game 1. You know what? Let's play a cleaner game 2. Man, we somehow managed to like dig that one out. I generally made some blunders there. Like, the deck is not difficult by any means. It's all about just like riding Imperial Daughters, striding, and then being able to like call down grade 2s. But that one like weird column turn, and then the like unable to stride turns kind of got to me, I think. But luckily, we managed to bring it back, and Dark Cat actually won us the game. So yeah, as I said before, it really can go the long way. And we're playing against Royals now, and this person has the Royal Paladin, the beautiful Shion skin. And we're going second too. You don't mind going first with this deck though. You don't mind going first because that means +1 soul. And ooh, look at this hand. That's a good start. We put the stand trigger back, but everything else we can keep. And optimally, I want to draw into a different grade 1 here too, because I want to use the Stride Fodder for, you know, striding. So let's see if that happens. We're going second, so we get an extra card draw, but give me a second to drink some liquid. How about this watermelon drink the other day? It's quite nice. Alright, this is really like... I'm going to keep the PGs, but I really do wish I could ride one of them because I need this Stride Fodder in hand. But it's okay. We'll hopefully draw into one because, of course, the heal trigger here is going to go back to deck and we'll be able to draw a card. So let's just see what it draws into. A Stride Fodder. Perfect. Alright, so this way we're not in as much of a trouble. Like, it's not the end of the world if you can't stride, but it's obviously better. Especially that we have, like, 2 good grade 2 turns. And I also feel like last game, maybe calling that extra grade 2 in the early stages to, like, push wasn't the best idea. I feel like we could have played a bit more conservatively there. And so my opponent here is playing very conservatively too. Also playing stand triggers, which is pretty interesting. I've seen it stand in a few alt mile lists, but it's not that frequently, like, popping up. Anyway, let's ride the Miko. Sadly, not the Suisei to match it up. I'm going to skip it this time, and we're going to just bash. There's not much point to aggress here when we have the first stride turn. So we're going to deal that damage. Another stand trigger comes out, this time in the damage, so it's a very slow start to the game, but next turn we basically have the strike turn plus a good pair of grade 2s. Ooh, our opponent is not riding. I'm assuming that means he doesn't have the alt mile in hand, so he's gonna search out a way to push? Question mark. Okay, BBS. These numbers are very awkward though, because now it's like you need a trigger on the Vanguard column to hit. I mean, if I had hit a defensive there, that would have been kind of bad news bears. He manages to hit it and a stand trigger at that. 3 of my Stride Fighters are gone, which is kind of sad, so we're gonna have to work hard for these strides. But yeah, like, calling this intercept I don't think really makes much sense, but, you know, it's fine, you do you. We lose a PG in the process as well. So let's see, what is our opponent thinking about? As this 10k Blaster Blade Spirit is left standing as my 20k VTuber, he's gonna pass. Alright. We draw into more Heal Guardians, but it's fine. Let's ride Imperial Daughter. This was meta once upon a time in the V Premium format. Alright. Let's go into our Kirin, so this helps us draw more cards. Just kind of like search through the deck. Don't really have to worry about it. We don't even need to commit too many intercepts, to be honest, although my hand is now like super fat, so I think I should. Because now, I mean, I'll go up to what? 7-card hand? So maybe I should stay a little bit reserved and get more Kirin activations, especially because like my Stride Fighters are all dying, so I might have to like discard 2 to stride next turn. So I think I'll play a bit more conservatively here and just call down the 11k attacker. Could have called down the Tom, but I want to keep it as like a winning piece at this point. Plus if we hit a stand trigger here, that's a bonus attack too. If we manage to, you know, if my opponent doesn't get a defensive, and he hasn't seen his grade 3, so I was assuming he might have actually hit one there. We get another 10k attacker, which is nice. And then we hit for 16 here, pushing our opponent to 4 damage. We're denying our own heals, but we've seen quite a few of them, if I'm not mistaken. So we only have... No, we still have 3 heals left in deck. We've just drawn into 2, so that's why it feels like we've seen most of them. But... Ooh. Damn, my opponent just straight up grade stuck, huh? My opponent is straight up grade stuck with no way to search it in hand. That is very unfortunate. And now he's gonna have the harsh realization that my Vanguard's 21k base on his turn. And he doesn't hit a trigger. Now this is the part where you start to feel like a bully. Because your opponent is just like, what the hell? Excuse me? Is this not okay? Question mark. Yeah, we're gonna hard stride, I suppose. I don't want to ditch the Tom, but it's kind of worth it. I guess we can ditch 2 VTubers. The Tom can hit the Violinist, so I guess it's fine. But I do want to stride just to kind of like keep filtering through the deck. Although at this point, might have not been the best idea, but I don't really have like the easiest. Like, I'd have to feed the Tom into the soul, basically. Alright, never punished. I want to keep drawing cards, so don't mind me. Tom, go! Tom, go shoot. Go shoot things. Alright, so we get another draw out of the Kirin here. Hopefully we can draw into a Stride Fodder. Maybe hit a stand trigger too. That'd be pretty stonks. Nah, we're not gonna do it. I was hoping it would pop at the moment that I say stonks, and that way, you know, it's just perfect. We'll add the 10k attacker again to hand. Keep like thinning those out of the deck. And then our opponent hits another ult pile in the damage. That definitely hurts. Well, he's only seen 1. I think he saw 1 on offense, but feels pretty bad, and he's gonna just concede, so that wasn't really the best kind of game. So let's go for a 3rd one. Alright, our next opponent is Narukami. Okay, this is gonna be... Oh! His thing is Sui-chan wa kyou mo chisai, which is like Sui-chan is cute, not cute, is small today. We're going 2nd again, which is kind of godlike, and we have a grade 1 to ride. Dark Cat opening is always good. Dark Cat opening is always nice. So let's see, we're gonna probably play against, I'm assuming it's Vanquisher. That's like the main Narukami deck in ladder these days, so it's also one of the decks I'll be doing a video on pretty soon. And he can play Rising Phoenix because it's not restricted, so that's also excellent. Alright. We draw into more Stride Fodders. We could even ride one, but I don't think we'll need like, we don't desperately need the booster for the time being. I might hold off on putting the heal back for another turn because I don't want to like whiff it early. That's something I probably should have been thinking about in other games too. We check a stand trigger early, which is fine. Ooh, alright, that's the Vermilion Legion, so the Crimson. And of course, it's run in the Vanquisher deck because it is essentially like the tech against decks that have resist everywhere. So Bermuda, for example, is quite prominent in ladder right now, and so it's a way to fight it. Let's see, this is the 12k attacker. During your turn, if your opponent doesn't have front row rear guards, he checks another Crimson. This could be just a Crimson dedicated deck. Alright, we have a good old Murakumo. That's what it's called, right? Amino Murakumo? Yeah. Okay, Dark Cat has been found. We can actually commit the Dark Cat early. I'll let this one run too. Good old McDonald's microphone as usual. You know what? I respect it. I respect it. I respect it. That's fine. Oh, this is pretty nice. We can commit the stand trigger early here to like clear this out, and then next turn we just like overcall the Dark Cat, so it's quite fine. If it doesn't get attacked into. That's the only unfortunate thing, is that this is a bad number to restand, and we've now burned 2 stands. But luckily our opponent just hits a defensive and our attack wouldn't have mattered anyway, so we're gonna just pass on it. Alright, heal goes back to draw heal, which is fantastic. I find it hilarious how my opponent just had to have a like Suisei like line in his profile, and my opponent just got flustered and happy when we rode the Suisei. You know what? Fun fact. While I don't watch VTubers, like some friends sent me the Suisei concert video or whatever, and I was like, wow, she's actually like, her voice is mad nice. So I can proudly say that the first ever VTuber that I pressed the subscribe button on YouTube for is Suisei. Because she also supports Vanguard, so you know, that's always like, you know, Sigma male grind set. Every single Sigma male in the universe plays Vanguard, so little do you know, Jeff Bezos is actually a really good Vanguard player. I had the pleasure of playing against him in his mansion. It was great. So yeah. Anyway, what was I talking about? Let's ride Imperial Daughter. Forget about everything else. Imperial Daughter is all that matters. Sorry, opponent. You got happy seeing how cool the Sweet-chan is, and then now I have to throw the degeneracy at your door. My sincerest apologies, sire. I did not intend for this to happen. But alas, the world is not a fair place. We live in a society, etc., etc. And if society is real, I will draw into a grade 2, which I don't. Well then, let's see what Dark Cat finds me. A grade 2! Fantastic! Alright, goodbye to the Dark Cat. Hello to the Sweet-chan. Very good. Alright, so here we begin the bastioning into the rear guards. He's really gonna react every single time. He's gonna react every single time to me putting down the Suisei. You know what? I respect it. He's dedicated to the craft. He's dedicated to the craft. You gotta respect that. I'll restand. If I get a stand trick, I'll restand the Suisei, just so I can be happy to get hit by her. But no, it's not gonna happen. We're gonna check it in damage. Ooh. Sadly, you can't choose to not take one of them, so you have to choose one of them to take into your hand. I'll take this. You know what? It's if we ever need to re-ride, it's a target. So now my opponent can like bind my stuff and he can like retire my front row, but little does you know, my front row is gonna be 21k Vanguard after that. So it's like, yeah, you can clear my board, but at the same time, you have to pay the price. Are you willing to do so? Let's find out. Alright, Yu. It's Yu versus Toya. They're just simping for VTubers. In the next episode of Team Blackout Goes to the Internet, Yu and Toya discover VTubers. Oh my god. Crazy. Alright, so gonna buy my drop zone. Doesn't really do much against me because I don't play Legion in this deck. Some people... Nah, not this deck. There's another deck that people play Legions in to keep things recycled. But it is not so important in this case. So let's see. Do you have anything else that can bind or get power, more importantly? Because you might be struggling against this beefy 21k Vanguard if you don't. Alright, my dear VTuber fan opponent. Do you have what it takes to surpass this board? Or will you just draw cards with that grade 2? It looks like you're gonna just draw cards. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I guess if you like super sacks, he might be able to hit my Vanguard. Oh, it begins. He checks the heal on 3. God Gamer confirmed. Alright, that's a PG and a draw. If I don't check a defensive, he actually pushes me to 5, which is pretty commendable. And I don't. So he can actually push me to 5. What a god. My 21k base didn't even matter. Insane. Yep, goodbye to my triggers. And hello, 28k attack in my head. Alright. 2 important grade 2s have died. Perished in the wind. And no grade 2s in my hand to call and attack with and play with my whole win con with, which is very unfortunate. However, Kama can go into Kamo Susanoo, and I think I'm gonna do just that because I'm running out of gas. Yeah, let's drop you and pray to find grade 2s for days. Sadly, there's only 13 grade 2s in the deck, and 3 of them are in my drop zone. Damage zone, rather. We still drew the 2 grade 2s here, which is fine. I'm gonna use the skill first. If we can get an 11k attacker, then we might hit a fat stand, and that'd be pretty nice. Hey, speak of the devil. I guess we can put Lozenge back, although I'd like to keep the heals to like heal out of this. So I think we'll just check the stand here and like recycle it immediately right away. And our hand stays plump at the same time, which is pretty fantastic. So let's go. So we want to boost this, obviously, to put it back as soon as possible. And then hopefully hit the stand on the drive check. Or just draw into another one. That also works. That also works. I guess the one thing that I could have done is like re-road the Imperial Daughter, which I now kind of like can't do anymore. We still find the stand trigger though. What a god gamer. Alright. Very nice. Suiche. Suiche! Wow, I can speak English. Or rather, anime language. It has been checked. But our opponent goes to 4 once again, and the game continues. The battle does not end. But now, I need a way to build up soul. I guess I should have discarded the Susanoo in hindsight for stride. But I could also not stride for a turn, because he's an 11k Vanguard, so I can kind of like not stride for a turn and like be fine. So now my opponent will be able to break 21k very easily with this conquest. But it's a question of, does he have 2 conquests? Because if he does, then he can do this again next turn. If he doesn't, then I'm fine, I think. But he will actually potentially kill me this turn because he will swing with multiple 21k plus attacks. And I only have 2 heal guards in hand. And I haven't somehow found no PGs from this Kamo Susanoo. There's 3, sorry, from the Takemikazuchi. That is quite surprising. But here we are, 21k base, and he's managed to get over it excellently. Alright, sir. How will you push? Oh, if he commits this... Oh, the AI is gonna try to double heal guard it, which sucks because... Yep. There it is. There it is. No, attack with a small one first! You're hitting! If I hit a heal here, you're dead! I think that could have gotten over a defensive. Yeah, look at that. Lozenge comes out. Good thing I didn't take it. Damn, Toya literally screamed there. My man yelled. Straight up yelling about the heal trigger. Alright, well, I managed to survive. That's based, and I draw into a grade, into a PG. We're once again finding ourselves in a predicament in which I need a grade 2. And I don't have soul, so I can't boost. But it's okay. Kirin is here to save the day. Go, Kirin. Save me. Save me! Alright. Kirin, the boy, will find me a PG, surely. Oh! Grade 2s exist in the world of the real. It is not ephemeral. That's a word. Alright. We get to once again do the same shenanigans. Hopefully draw into our last... We have 1 stand-in deck. That's amazing. I hope I draw into the last Imperial Daughter rather than check it, because I want to re-ride. Never mind. If you hit a defensive here, I will be visibly upset. Visibly upset. What did I say, man? I'm seething with rage. Seething with rage and anger. Boils through my blood. Well, that's gonna be a pass. Sad. Alright. Our opponent will now go down to 6 cards in deck. The deck out wars continue once again. Tune in next time for the deck out war conclusion. Okay. He had another place. He has the full playset of Conquest. Understandable. Have a nice day. This gets over my 21k base once again and clears my front row once again. But not all hope is lost. As long as there's a heal trigger in deck and my opponent mistimes their attacks, everything is fine. Because at least I go to 31k base from checking a heal trigger. My god, dude. You are going ham. Wait, I want to see what he's bound. Has he specifically... Oh, he bound 2 Suiseis. I thought he would like specifically avoid buying the Suisei. That's kind of sad. He's rude to his own idol. But it's okay. I understand. Sometimes my Twitch chat is very rude to me. Even though they say nice things about me on other days. But then other days they call me out on my misplays and they tell me to apologize in front of a live audience. Alright. How will he time his attacks this time? That's right. You go with the rear guard first. Go with the smallest ones first. Kill me with the smallest ones first. That is right. And this time, I will not survive by 6 damage shield, even if I do happen to check it here. And I don't. Funnily enough, we check a Suisei in the last damage. Should have put Suisei sleeves to get him to, you know, maybe like, you know, be nicer to me. But oh well. Here we are. Here we are. But there you go. Nice little 2-1 record with Imperial Daughter OTT / Susanoo / Kirin / Strides and stuff. Funnily enough, that art on the loaded screen was by Fuzichoko, which is Gabriel's artist. But anyway, that's it for today's video. Just wanted to feature this deck, you know, feature OTT in some capacity after the clan event, because it's a pretty fun deck. Feel free to mess around with it. If you have 4 Takemikazuchis, please do, Takemikazuchi, please do play them, because obviously it's better that way, and you don't really use your CB for anything in this deck outside of, like, occasionally Susanoo and Imperial Daughter to release Restraint when you go first, but we didn't manage to go first at all those 3 games, which is pretty surprising. But yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed the video. Enjoy playing this deck if you're on JP, and if you're not, then play with it when it's out in Global, I suppose. Up next, I think I'll be covering one of the Bermuda decks, and then we'll be doing Vanguard after that, I think, is according to my schedule. Don't quote me on that, but you'll find out in a few days. Lots of Zero content coming to you guys for the next week, basically, because I have to do so much, like, deck and fights and, like, set analysis, and I'm doing a video on, like, tips for global players on, like, going into G, the way I did with the Legion video way back when. And then on top of that, I will also have, you know, new set stuff coming up. Zero Championship is this Sunday. Me and Kai are going to be commentating it, so make sure you come through. They're going to be revealing the next Zero set most likely on that stream too, so make sure you don't miss it, because it's going to be pretty hype. It'll be live on my Twitch channel. But anyway, that's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Like the video if you liked it, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe, because it does help the channel a lot. But otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.